Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session today on the ease of payment reconciliation in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. Joining us today will be Jenny Hollingsworth from Innovia Consulting. We are excited to have such a fantastic turnout today. Before I pass it over to Jenny to cover this hot topic, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded and will be posted to our on-demand webinar library for later this week. You can review this and share this with anyone you wish. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the question box and we will get them answered during our Q&A time at the end of the session. And now I'm going to pass it over to Jenny.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jenny Hollingsworth. Like Holly said, I'm a senior application consultant with Innovia Consulting. A little bit of background about myself. Been with Innovia for going on 14 years this year. And prior to that, I was with another partner for about 10 years. So I'm located near Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I work out of my home office. So all in all, I've been working with NAV for 24-ish years already, so time seems to fly by. So today we're going to talk about the ease of payment reconciliation in Business Central. This is the same whether you're working in Business Central or NAV, just the screens look a bit different when we move over to Business Central. My presentation will be in Business Central today. So some objectives for the class today is we're going to look at options for importing our bank transaction files into the payment reconciliation journal. And right now in Business Central, there are 3 different methods. We have our bank data conversion services using AMC Consult, the InvestNet Yodlee bank feeds, and data exchange definitions. And InvestNet Yodlee bank feeds is new to Business Central SaaS. So if you're using Business Central SaaS, there is an extension for the InvestNet Yodlee bank feeds. If you're using it on-prem, it seems like you still can use the bank feeds, but I'll go into that a little bit later. And the 2 existing ones, if you're in older versions of NAV, you can still use and have available to you bank data conversion services and the data exchange definitions. So we'll talk about all of those. And then we'll look at how do I use the payment reconciliation journal. So what is it and how can I import the files and what can I do with it? All right, so first let's look at those options of how we can actually import our bank transaction files. The first one I mentioned was bank data conversion services. Okay, so this is actually a third-party service that provides integration from your bank directly to NAV or Business Central. And this third-party service allows you to easily get your payment export files from your payment journal, your bank transaction import files into your payment reconciliation journal, and also your bank statement import if you're importing directly into bank statements. A few things to note on this service is, 1, you have to sign up with the provider, AMC Consult. The service is free for 1 bank account, but monthly fees apply for additional bank accounts, which is listed out on their website. It's not much, but there is a monthly fee for additional. And not all banks are supported through this service, so you need to find out first if your bank is supported. And we'll look at how you can do that. So first, a little bit about AMC Consult. Who are they? Well, like I said, they're a third-party online banking solution provider. They're based out of Denmark. They've been in the industry of banking solutions for over 15 years. And they're specialists in bank integration solutions for Dynamics products and also other ERP products. If you want to learn more, this is the website, www.amcbanking.com, and you can find out more information about this company and this solution provider. Okay, so that was option 1, but what if your bank isn't supported? Couple options. One, you can work with AMC to add your bank's format to their service. They are willing to work with you to do that. Two, we can map your files manually using the data exchange definitions, which we'll talk about. Or three, you can utilize the new InvestNet Yodlee bank feeds. Okay, so those are your three options. So let's look at that InvestNet Yodlee bank feed next. Okay, what is this? Well, this is another third-party service that allows you to link your Business Central bank account to your online bank account. This is not available in NAV. So this is only available in Business Central. From what I've been told as well, it works very well with Business Central SaaS. There's an extension that you just import. However, there are options for using it with on-premise. Okay, so using this, your bank statement can automatically, or you can manually feed it into your payment reconciliation journal. And I put a link here to a document out on Microsoft's website that shows how this is set up. We can't go through the full setup process of this unless I was using Microsoft Dynamics Business Central on-prem. Okay, sorry, not on-prem, SaaS. Okay, to use this service, you can download and install the free extension. It is free of charge. And like I said, it's only supported on the online version of Business Central. To use this functionality on-premise, you need to have a co-brand account from InvestNet Yodlee. And again, not all banks are supported through this service either. All right, so that's the second option. And the last option is using data exchange definitions in NAV. So this will give you the ability to manually map your file formats for import or export of your bank data in NAV or Business Central, whichever one you're using. In the olden days, you used to have to use data ports or have a developer build an XML port to import and export files. But now with data exchange definitions, you can actually use that to manually map the formats of your files. Okay, and in data exchange definitions, it's fairly straightforward to set up, but first you would set up your line definition. So what's in your file? Your header, your detail, your footer. Within each line definition, you would set up your column definitions. And those columns from your file, you would then map to fields within Business Central or NAV. And we'll take a look at that once we get into the demo piece. All right, so those are the options for importing your bank transaction file into the Payment Reconciliation Journal. But what does the Payment Reconciliation Journal do? Okay, first of all, it allows you to process customer and vendor payments. So if you did not already process your customer and vendor payments through either deposits, the cash receipt journal, or the payment journal, this will allow you to import those customer and vendor payments that hit your bank account and try to auto match those payments to your customer and vendor invoices. It also is a two-in-one journal. It'll allow you to reconcile your bank account as well, instead of doing a bank reconciliation separately. So what that'll do is it'll auto-match your bank ledger entries and your check ledger entries for bank reconciliation. All right, so that's just a little bit of background about what we're going to talk about today. So now I'm going to flip over into Business Central and we'll look at how some of this works. All right, let me refresh my session here. Let's try that again. All right, of course, I just had this open. Let me try opening this again. Sorry about that. I had it all set up and it seems There we go. All right, minor heart attack there for a moment, but we got it resolved here. Nothing better than going into a demo and having the software not open. All right, so here we are in Business Central. I'm on the web client version of it. And let's first look at how to create our bank transaction import. Okay, we talked about the 3 different methods, but I just want to show you a few things regarding the setups of those methods so you know how to set those up. So first, let's look at the bank data conversion service setup. So I'm just going to do a find and find that setup window. All right, so we'll go to bank data conversion setup. And let's just review how easy the setup is. Okay, the setup's pretty simple. First, you want to make sure that your bank is a supported bank. So if you go to more options. All right, under Navigate, you have the bank name data conversion list. So let's go ahead and select that option. And here it's going to pull up every single bank account that is available to use through the bank data conversion services. All right, if you go to Actions, they do add banks all the time. So if you go to Actions and update bank name list to update your list to the most current. Okay, so you just need to look through your list and make sure your bank is supported. All right, so if we go back to that setup screen, the next thing you could do is then there is a sign up URL here. You can go to this sign up URL and create your user account through AMC Banking. And once you create that account, all you have to do is come back here and enter your username and your password. So the setup here is fairly straightforward. So if we have this set up, we're ready to import our bank files. If not, we can look at other options if our bank is not listed. All right, so that would be the setup of the bank data conversion services. But let's look at least show the setup for the InvestNet Yodlee bank feed. All right, if we look at the setup for this, okay, from here, once you set up your co-brand account with InvestNet, which co-brand is I find a funny name, but it's basically your customer username and password. You would set that up here on your bank feed service setup. It allows you to go ahead and test your setup. And then when you get to your bank accounts in Business Central, on the bank account, there will be an option to create new linked bank account. And when you select that option, you can link your Business Central bank account, and it will go out to this InvestNet website. You'll find your bank account out there, and then you'll link the two. And that's how it knows. That is the link between Business Central and InvestNet for linking that bank feed. I'd love to show you that piece, but without a real bank account as well, it's very hard to demo this option. And that's why on that PowerPoint, I gave you a link to the Microsoft document. If this is something you're looking into, it really is step-by-step what you need to do to set this up. All right, so that is the bank feed setup. If neither of those work for you, then you can manually map your file in data exchange definitions. So why don't we just quick take a look at that. I'm not going to get into great detail on how mapping works because I really want to show how that payment reconciliation journal works, but we'll take a look at the screens and kind of get a feel for how you map the file. All right, so these are all the default data exchange definitions in Business Central. There are two sample formats for bank statement imports. Here you see the bank data conversion services import, and here's another example down here, SEPA import, and that's a bank statement import as well. We're just going to look at this one to kind of review how a data exchange definition is set up. All right, so looking at this one, on the General Fast tab, you'll see file type. You can see all the different file types that Business Central accepts. from the file type that you select, then for the fixed and variable, you can select the file encoding. Is that Windows? Is it a comma delimiter, a tab delimiter? You know, what type of column separator is there? And then the most important thing on here too is, maybe not the most important, but important nonetheless, is the type. So if we're using the payment reconciliation journal, then we need to use a data exchange definition for bank statement import. All right, so pretty general information on that FAST tab. Then you would go down to the line definitions, and here's where you build your file layout. This particular file layout only has detail lines, but as you know, with other file layouts for maybe EFT payment exports, things like that, you might have a header line, a detail line, and a footer line. So there is an option to put as many line types as there are in the file. All right, so then on the detail line type, okay, if you go to manage field mapping, okay, here's where you map the fields. Here's your column caption from the file, and then here is where you map them to in Business Central or NAV. How do you know what table? Of course, up here, we're telling it this one is going to table 81, which is the general journal line table. So when you look up to your field IDs, those are going to be all the fields available in the general journal line. Okay, so under field mappings is where you would map all of your fields to the Business Central or NAV tables. All right, so that's just a quick overview of how data exchange definitions are set up. One thing that's nice as well is if you have to start from scratch on yours, you can take a look and see some of the other default ones. You could copy one of these and then just modify it as well. That will help you speed up the creation of your data exchange definition. All right. So once our setup is complete, whether we're using one of the two services or a data exchange definition, there's a few setups we have to do on the bank account itself. So if we go to bank accounts, and I'm going to look at the USD bank account. Okay, so first of all, what is required? Well, the bank account number has to be populated. That's a must. And then on the transfer tab, where is it? The transit number has to be populated. And then better populate that. Okay, and then the bank statement import format has to be populated. So this is going to drop down and look at those data exchange definitions, which are automatically set up when you use the Yodlee bank feed or the bank data conversion service. So if you're using one of those, you would select either one of those, or you would manually select your one you created through data exchange definitions. And we're not talking about payment exports or positive pay today, but I mean, you can see here, this is where you would map your formats for those as well. All right, so the bank account setup is fairly easy. There's only those three fields that we really need to worry about. And we'll close that down. All right, so let's now look at what setups are required for the payment reconciliation journal. Again, the setups are pretty simple. The first setup is in payment reconciliation, payment rec setup. Oh. I can find it really quick here. Let me go to the reconciliation journal and look at it from that aspect. All right, well, once we populate the journal here, I'll show you the payment rec setup. You know what, I'm typing it wrong. It's payment application rules, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. If I type the right words, the search would help, right? All right, so this is the payment application rules. Business Central has default rules to start with, but you can customize these rules. But if you look at the rules here, what they do is they help you to automatically match your payments to your open ledger entries. So you can see it gives us a match confidence, what is considered a high probability of a match. All right, so it gives us priority order. It looks at, does it consider the document number or the external document number? Does it consider payment tolerances? And then if you're using direct debit collection, does it consider that as well? So I've never had to actually modify these payment application rules as of yet. They're pretty standard, but they can be modified. So this just really tells us what's considered a high, a medium, or a low match confidence in the payment reconciliation journal. All right, and then the second setup for payment reconciliation journal is, I should have just showed you this right when I was on that bank account, but it is the matching tolerance. So you can see here that for the amount field, what is your match tolerance? Do you want to do it by percentage or amount? And I have percentage 5%. So, you know, if it's a payment of $100, it's going to look at open ledger entries 5% either way of that $100. So it just gives you a little bit more leeway in that match confidence. And you can, again, you can do that by percentage or by dollar amount. All right, so the payment application rules, and then that setup on the bank account card is all we would need to do for the setup of the payment rec journal. So once these are complete, we can now import into our payment rec journal. So let me go ahead and open that. I'll go to the payment reconciliation journal. And I'm going to go to process, import bank transactions. It's going to ask you to select your bank account. So I'm going to select the USD bank account and choose my file. Okay, so it's working on importing the records, and it also worked on automatically applying those records to open ledger entries in Business Central or NAV. So a message displays, it shows us that 8 out of the 9 payment lines have been applied. So it's found information on 8 of the 9 lines. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It's going to pop up my payment rec journal. And you'll notice here the very first field is that match confidence. Okay, so we can see whether it's a high, a medium, or a low match confidence. All right, so looking at these records, let's just go through a few of the records and what they mean. We have a few different examples set up here. So what are some of the different types of transactions that could come in with a bank transaction import? So let's look at this deposit line. And I seem to have just changed that. Well, give me 1 second. Let me re-import those real quick. Okay, so let's look at this bank deposit line. So, and I have to apply them separately when I do it from here. Okay, so we're back to where we were here. This is a posted deposit line. So this line includes several checks and also a cash amount that was deposited. Now, This line is just going to reconcile the deposit in the bank account because the deposit was already posted in Business Central. So here the transaction text, it contains the deposit ID, and then the matching algorithm, which is using the match competence, was able to apply this bank line to 3 bank account ledger entries with that same ID and the external document number field. So if I click on high for match competence, it's going to show me what it applied to, okay? So here's the 3 records that it applied to. So in NAV, when you do a deposit, when you post that deposit, the deposit number posts into the external document number field. So that's how it's looking at seeing the deposit number from the file to the external doc number field in NAV. Okay, so this is an automatic application. And again, it's not posting anything to the customer accounts because we already did that through the deposit. This specific one is just going to do the reconciliation in the bank account. All right, so that's one of the types. Another type, let's look at the insurance line. Okay, so we'll go to this invoice line. So this line represents a customer payment made to our bank account for an invoice. And this has not been posted in our bank account or in our customer account in Business Central. So what we need this line to do is post the payment to the customer and to the bank account, and then reconcile it to the bank statement automatically. So this one, if we drill down on the match confidence, this also was a high match confidence. The system recognized the customer's name and the invoice numbers. So again, here we saw the invoice number in the transaction text was the 103003, and the amount matched, so it's automatically applying that to that invoice. All right. Okay, so that one is good. It's another high. A third one is a rent payment line. So if we go up one line, you'll notice this one says high match tolerance text to account mapping. All right, we can set up an account mapping using manual application. If we go to map text to account. All right. So here, if we see this text in the transaction text field, we're going to map this to our customer 40,000. Okay, so if a file comes in, I can say map this transaction text to a customer, a vendor, a bank account, or a GL account. All right, so it automatically maps that to, we look over to the right here, customer 40,000. Okay, so that is going to post to the customer account, the bank account, and then also reconcile the bank. Before we look at a few of the other lines, you can also filter the journal and only show the issues, only show the lines that were unapplied. So if we click View, Show Non-Applied Lines, it'll filter our list and only have to look at the issues that were imported. All right. All right, so let's look at the line we're highlighted on right now, payment of invoice 103021. Here a customer is paying an invoice, and it looks like they overpaid by 15 cents. Again, it used my 5% match tolerance on my bank account to go 5% either way and find a dollar amount. So it did find one, and it had a difference of 15 cents. Now, we don't want to post that 15 cents to the customer's account because then it will remain as an open balance on that customer. We want to just write it off to a GL account. So what we can do is we can use the transfer difference to account action. So if we click on manual application, transfer difference, screen comes up, we can select what GL account we want to transfer this to. I'm going to select 85-100. And we can put in a description. And click OK. Okay, you'll notice now it's no longer in our filter set because that line has now been taken care of. I'm going to go ahead and remove my filters. I'm going to show all lines again because I want to show you what that did. Here's the payment of the invoice. You can see that the applied amount now matches the transaction amount, but it now inserted an extra line here for the overpayment. Okay, so just wanted to give you a view into what that did. All right, we have a couple more lines to take care of here. One is the service fee for the copying machine for February. All right, this one we needed to pay a vendor. All right, so they automatically deducted this from our bank account, maybe through an EFT payment to that vendor. So what do we want to do with this amount? Again, I can go to manual application and transfer difference to account. And here I could just select vendor. I want to post this to vendor 40,000. And I'm going to leave that description on it and click OK. So now this difference is 0. And if we scroll to the right, we're now posting that amount to vendor 40,000. All right. So we're down to our last line. Here you can notice our transaction amount from the file is 169,000. Our applied amount is 117,000. So there's a difference of 52,169.69. So obviously there's some transactions that may not apply correctly. So we can go ahead and drill down on the match confidence and look at the entries for that customer. All right, so this one was easy right off the bat. I see the amount, so it must be for this invoice here. It looks like the same amount we're off. So we can manually apply that line by just placing a check mark in the applied. It'll add that amount together. Our difference is now 0, and we can click close. All right, so now our differences are 0. Everything looks good to go. So we're ready to post our reconciliation journal. A couple of options here. If we click on posting, there's 2 options. One, we can post payments and reconcile the bank account. So this will post all of our payments that we applied to either a vendor, a customer, or a GL account. And it'll also reconcile those entries in your bank. Or we can post payments only. Maybe we don't want to reconcile our bank from this file. We want to do that at month end with our bank statement import. We could do that as well. So any of these entries, like that first one we talked about, this bank deposit, it'll do nothing with that specific entry because we already posted the deposit in NAV. That one would just have been reconciling the bank account. So these are the 2 options that you can choose from. If you are reconciling to the bank account, one important thing to note is your balance on bank account after posting down here really needs to match the statement ending balance. So, we are off by a few $1,000s worth of transactions. So those would need to match up. I didn't pull in enough entries to make up the difference for this demo reason, but just know if you're going to do that, you want to make sure those 2 balances balance to 0. If you don't, it will not post the reconciliation. It'll error out just like it does if you use the bank statements in NAV. if you try to reconcile. So for our demo reasons, we're just going to post payments only, and I'm going to go ahead and click yes. I'm going to go ahead and post all the lines. All right, and then clear out our payment reconciliation journal. So that is pretty much the entire process on how to import transaction files for the bank into your payment reconciliation journal, and then how to take care of different issues and resolve them within the payment rec journal. All right. So, any questions?
It appears we don't have any questions for you today, Jenny. Please feel free to contact us if you do have any questions, and we'll be glad to get them answered for you. So with that, we thank you, Jenny, for presenting today, and everyone who's on the call, or if you're watching on demand, thank you for joining us. We do have a few more webinars coming soon. This afternoon at 1 p.m. Central, we have Rick Faulkner from Innovia Consulting presenting on modifying pages using Web Designer in Business Central. And then next Tuesday, June 18th, we have Desiree Geiger from Innovia Consulting, and she will be presenting on getting the most out of your Innovia support team. I'm going to go to that one, I think. Check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's innovia.com/events. We also want to mention that we have our new podcast going on, the Innovia Conversation. You can find out all the different podcast platforms to listen to our podcast page, and that is innovia.com/podcast. So check out our podcast selection and subscribe so you'll get notified on our new episodes. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon at another Innovia webinar. Have a great day, everyone.